Empathic Champagne Supernova. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Combining two things in the title, the Oasis song Champagne Supernova, because as you're about to find out, champagne features heavily in what I'm going to discuss with you, and of course the concept of the empathic supernova. There are many people who believe that they experience the empathic supernova when actually they do not. The first thing to bear in mind is that in order to have the capability to have an empathic supernova, you need to have some element of being a super empath. The super empath is not, contrary to the belief of unaware mid-range narcissists, somebody that goes around kicking the ass of narcissists on a repeated and regular basis. Those individuals who identify by saying, hey, I'm a super ninja, heyoka, kick-ass empath, are invariably boasting, unaware, mid-range narcissists. But any individual that exhibits super empathy, whether it's an insignificant amount, significant, whether it's a strong, very strong, or majority, has the capacity to go empathic supernova. And if you've undertaken the empath detector and been found to have an element of super empathy, you'll also understand the circumstances as to when that empathic supernova can take place. The empathic supernova, as explained in my video of that name, is about a defensive mechanism that occurs whereby the super empath erupts in order to protect themselves. This could, of course, cause problems for the narcissist in so doing, but the primary focus of the empathic supernova isn't to cause a problem for the narcissist, but is rather to protect the victim. Some people confuse the empathic supernova with what is known as the cliff fight back. That is where an individual is backed to the edge of a cliff, so they have no choice but to fight back. If you'd like to understand more about the differences and similarities of the empathic supernova and the cliff fight back, you can watch the video of that name and also read about it in greater detail in the Platinum Collection, a book which is on Amazon, which has a host of brilliant articles that will entertain but more importantly inform and educate you, which includes empathic supernova versus cliff fight back. In order to test your knowledge about cliff fight backs, narcissists and the empathic supernova, we're now going to examine a report, which is where the champagne comes in. Charles Bremner of the Times writes about ex-mistress exposes lascivious lifestyle of Tattinger boss who she threatened to kill. Seems like it's got all of the ingredients for a rather exciting story. Champagne, wealth, mistress, threats to kill. What's not to like? Well, let us examine this material and make a determination as to the various individuals within it to see what has been going on. When Champagne patriarch Pierre-Emmanuel Tattinger joked that he was paid to eat, drink and make love, little did he imagine those exploits would embroil him in a court case against an ex-mistress who pursued him with a knife and threatened to cut off his penis. Now, the fact that he has a mistress suggests an absence of or reduced emotional empathy for his wife because he's cheating. The mistress possibly could have an absence of emotional empathy or reduced emotional empathy because she's interfering in somebody else's relationship. Or it might be that she's fallen under the sway of a narcissist and therefore her usual emotional empathy for the wife becomes diminished and she's not affected in wanting to stay away. It might be that she's actually an empath and that has come within the orbit of a narcissist so that she finds that she doesn't have the emotional empathy for the wife because she doesn't know her, but moreover, because her emotional empathy has been pushed down as a consequence of her addiction to the narcissist. This then, as a consequence of reduced empathy because of the way that she is being treated by the narcissist, the individual who's the champagne boss, if he is one, has resulted in her then pursuing him with a knife and also threatening to cut off his penis. Acts which ordinarily are narcissistic in nature and base manipulative, but may well have caused as a consequence of the own erosion of her emotional empathy and possibly as a consequence of an empathic supernova. Samira L., 48, was given a suspended 1-year prison sentence recently for chasing him with a weapon outside the family home, making death threats and harassing him. She also harassed his wife Claire, age 76, daughter Vitali, the current boss of the Champagne House, and another alleged mistress. So, is this an empathic supernova, or has she gone rogue with a cliff fight back, lashing out against another mistress, the wife and the daughter? Or is this behavior of another narcissist who doesn't care about who she's hurting because she has suffered a loss of control vis-a-vis another narcissist? Or possibly Mr. Tattinger is just simply a normal who's been getting it elsewhere. Yet she used the trial to relate lurid allegations about their sex and champagne-fueled lives together that will haunt what he had planned as a peaceful retirement that would make his wife happy. Tattinger, 70, a flamboyant figure in the champagne world who bought the grand firm back from an American investment firm in 2006, went to the police in 2017 to report 3 years of harassment by an accountant named Samira L. Now, 3 years is sustained behavior. And what we can say is for her to engage in 3 years of harassment, if correct and true, is not the behavior of an empathic supernova, and it is not the behavior of a cliff fight back. That length of time to engage in those repeated behaviors isn't the case of it being an empathic supernova, then another one, then another one, then another one, though of course an individual can have more than one. But to do so in a sustained basis is not the hallmarks of an empathic supernova. Remember, the empathic supernova is there to protect the individual. It isn't about going on a relentless assault against the narcissist or another person. In the circumstances, therefore, it is not representative of an empathic supernova. Secondly, it wouldn't be a cliff fight back, because she wouldn't find herself in repeated cliff situations again and again and again over a 3-year period. Usually it happens the once, maybe 2 or 3 times, but the purpose of normally cliff fight back results in that individual managing their escape from the narcissist, so there wouldn't have to be another one. The pair had begun a relationship in 2011, which he ended in 2014. After his complaint, Samira L. bombarded Tattinger with text messages. Again, that doesn't smack of empathic supernova or cliff fight back. Instead, it smacks of a repeated, sustained course of events of malign hoovering. She was threatening to emasculate and kill him, and then she took a train to his part of the world to confront him at the family home. Again, such behaviours happening again and again and again on a sustained basis exhibit an absence of emotional empathy for him. Notwithstanding the fact, of course, that he has mistreated her with regard to having an affair with her and presumably not following up on marrying her or getting rid of the wife, the response smacks far more of somebody responding to a threat to control. The report explains that she pulled out a knife and began chasing him in the street. The Paris court heard, "If I had running shoes on, I would have caught you and I would have murdered you," she texts afterwards. Note, that's not a comment being made in the heat of the moment, but she texted it afterwards, when ordinarily someone would have calmed down. It's representative, therefore, of more malign behaviours coming from her. Samira L. admitted she hounded Tattinger because she felt abused and manipulated when he broke up with her, having kept her in a flat in the opulent 16th arrondissement of Paris, she said. She also attempted to blacken his name in the business world by trying to spread baseless claims of paedophilia and pimping, clearly smearing and the necessity of an indirect assertion of control. In court, she accused Tattinger of forcing her into a dissolute life of heavy champagne consumption, well, he's going to have plenty of access to it, and visits to Paris's libertine sex clubs. He chose the outfits I had to wear, as well as the makeup and the hair removal, she said. That sounds like Tattinger has exerted control over her. He chose the men I had to have sex with, she alleged, which again sounds like a lack of boundary recognition, triangulation, and an assertion of control. She also claimed to have been raped there. The managers of the clubs told police that they had received no complaints from her, and they described the couple as loving and libertine clients. Therefore, there appears to have been a revision of history taking place. With his long hair and colourful style, Tattinger, grandson of Pierre Tattinger, the brand's founder, has long cut a dash in the tight-knit champagne world. In a 2021 profile, Le Monde described him as an exuberant playboy and a slightly Rabelaisian party animal. Again, those are comments which would be perhaps applicable to an individual who's a narcissist. He made news in 2016 when he briefly entered the race for the 2017 presidential election, withdrawing after only 2 days because of a serious personal event. The Tattinger Company site describes him as a hedonist and a humanist, at the same time a dreamer and a determined man. Tom Michel, Samira L's lawyer, said Tattinger had exerted toxic control over her. There was not a loving man on one side and a manipulating woman on the other. Her existence was devoted to Tattinger. He controlled her whole life, the lawyer said in Le Parisien newspaper. She felt she had been sullied. She wanted to do the same back to him. Now, this would perhaps appear as if she's the victim of a narcissist and wants to respond, and therefore you might think, well, it's clear that he's been abusing her, controlling her, telling her what to wear, saying who she should have sex with, etc. She claims that she has been raped. Accordingly, she appears to be the victim of a narcissist. Therefore, would it not be the case that her behaviour would be an empathic supernova or perhaps a cliff fight back? On the face of it, one could understand why someone would suggest that, but the fact is, it's not. It's gone on too long, it's too vicious, and it's directed at harming the narcissist rather than protecting herself. Tattinger, who is now honorary chairman of the company and head of its new Evremond brand, a joint Franco-British sparkling wine vineyard in Kent, was not in court, but Nicholas Hoopsch, his lawyer, said the judges had clearly disbelieved Samira L's claims of abuse. None of this lady's claims have led to prosecution, he said. This lady has used slander to damage my client, to intimidate him and put him under pressure, Hoopsch told L'Union, the Champagne region newspaper. This 6-year-old affair, having an affair is part of a indicator of the narcissistic dynamic, has profoundly affected my client morally and psychologically. Tattinger had enormously suffered from all of these attacks, the lawyer said. He had been stupidly in love with Samira L and had tried to calm her anger, agreeing to pay her €2,470 monthly rent for more than 4 years, residual benefit, bribery, in return for an end to her campaign. When she sent text messages including, "I want to kill you," "I want you to die, am I clear?" he replied kindly, "Darling Samira, did you write that because you were drinking your medicine again? Take care of me like I take care of you. I love you." That appears to be a response that is absence of emotional empathy and appears arrogant and dismissive and high-handed. A psychiatrist's report to the court said the former mistress had a histrionic personality, a disorder defined as exaggerated emotionality and attention-seeking behaviour. You may recall from those of you that understood my analysis of Amber Heard that she was described as histrionic, and how I've explained that histrionic personality disorder is just another form of narcissistic personality disorder, and therefore it would appear that the psychiatric report suggests that Samira L may well be a narcissist. Tattinger's staff told Le Parisien that her campaign against their boss, who stepped down in 2020, had led to a threatening atmosphere in the company, which he bought back from Starwood Capital in 2006 for €746 million. The sale in 2005 had caused deep divisions in the family. The fact that her campaign was affecting other people and not just him is also an indicator that it was not representative of an empathic supernova or a cliff fight back. Tattinger, who began working life in his early 20s selling champagne in alpine resorts out of a Citroën 2CV, has sometimes associated champagne with sex. He once compared the sparkling wine to Viagra, noting that a mistress of King Louis XV had claimed that the king was a better lover when he was drinking champagne. "I am paid to drink, I am paid to eat and make love sometimes, and drink wonderful champagne sometimes," he told the Irish Times in 2016. Grandiosity. Champagne is not only a wine, it is a symbol of happiness, a symbol of delicacy, of elegance. Talking of his future retirement, he added, "It will be a beautiful day. They will offer me 2 little dogs, because I want to take care of 2 dogs. The conversation will be superb. I will have no mistress anymore. My wife will be happy." Note the rather brazen way that he talks about the mistress, and he appears to have at least had 2, Samira L and another lady, and that he talks about this quite freely, notwithstanding the fact that he has a wife, demonstrating a lack of emotional empathy for her and a lack of boundary recognition. Is this an empathic champagne supernova? You'll have worked out by now it's not. This is most likely a clash of 2 narcissists. Tattinger, a narcissist who is conducting an affair with the mistress, and the mistress who is a narcissist also. And to begin with, they were able to control one another by having lots of sex, by flattery, by him using bribery, by her receiving that residual benefit of receiving champagne and having her rent paid. But then, over time, he will have not given her what she wanted. He will have threatened control, perhaps by not seeing her as often as she would have wanted, because she will have been an intimate partner, secondary source of a shelf variety, most likely a dirty little secret until as of late. And therefore he will have picked her up and put her down as she saw fit. He will have been an intimate partner, secondary source of a shelf variety within her fuel matrix. And at first it worked. They would spend time together, have sex. She knew that he was married, therefore understood that he would go away. But undoubtedly, her narcissism will have driven her to seek to control him more often, to draw more fuel from him. And when he has not responded, that has amounted to a threat to control, resulting in her response being to threaten to kill him, to threaten to emasculate him, to smear him to other people, to cause an atmosphere at the company, and, of course, to contact his wife, his daughter, and another mistress, smearing him further. This has not been an empathic supernova because the behaviours aren't commensurate with protection and they are too repeated in nature, nor is it a cliff fight back because they are not at the end of the tether response, but they are repeated and sustained, and instead you have a situation of 2 narcissists colliding. I'm H.G. Tudor.